Good morning. Today is March 5th, 2021, and welcome to the Charles County Delegation meeting. We are certainly pleased to have you join us. And most of the meeting will center around discussions, a discussion with our Charles County Sheriff, Troy Berry. But before we commence with that, I'm going to ask my colleagues if there are any announcements that they would like to share. Before that, I would offer that all of the legislation, Charles County Delegation legislation, has been heard or will be heard, most on the House side and also on the Senate side. So we're good in terms of the legislative process. Okay.
Madam Chair.
Senator Jackson.
Yes, ma'am. Good morning, everybody. I just want to make sure or just announce that my legislative aide, Carol, Lowe, on the line. So good morning, Ms. Carol. Good morning, Sheriff. That's it.
Good morning.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning. Any other quick announcements before we begin? All right, well, thank you very much. And Senator Ellis, I'm going to recognize that you have some important decisions to make later on, and that this was a time in which we will have open dialogue with Sheriff Berry. Welcome, Sheriff, and I'm turning it over now to Senator Ellis.
Thank you, Delegate Patterson. Appreciate your leadership and colleagues. Thank you for joining us. I want to thank Sheriff Berry for joining with us this morning. You know, as the legislative leaders here in Annapolis, representing Charles County, our goal is to work closely with all the institutions and the leaders in the county to make sure we're all working for our citizens and, you know, to cooperate to the full extent to really accomplish the one goal we all have, is to serve our Charles County constituents with distinction. And so we initiated and we want to continue with a regular communication with the sheriff, with to find out what's going on in the county. And I must say, Sheriff Berry is distinguished in addition to being independent elected, dual elected official and being sheriff. He's also appointed and serves on the board of the Police Standards and Training Commission. And I hope I got that right, Sheriff.
Yes, sir.
And he's also has been serving as the chairman of that commission. So we're very proud of you, Sheriff, for all that you're doing and your recognition in the state around the nation for your leadership. And so we really just want to kind of have this conversation with you and have it on a regular basis to really work with you to make sure as much as we can that our actions here in Annapolis align with what needs to be done in the county as you lead out to keep our citizens safe. So thank you for being here. I know all of our members have questions and thoughts. And so I want you, Sheriff, to start out, make a few comments, and then we'll go to comments and questions from, start with Senator Jackson, Delegate Patterson, Delegate Wilson, Delegate Davis, and I'm not sure if Delegate Proctor is here this morning. So Sheriff?
Yes, I'm here. I'm
here.
Hi,
Delegate Proctor. Good to see you. Good to see you.
Seeing you.
Okay. My screen was cut off with folks who I can see. So thank you for being here, everyone. Sheriff Berry.
I really appreciate the delegation for taking time out of the busy schedules to be here and have a conversation this morning. We always want to definitely work with all of our partners in the community, whether that's on a state level, a local level, also in the community. We understand that we're in, law enforcement and criminal justice reform is in the forefront of a lot of individuals' minds. And also it's being carried out through our General Assembly. And that's critically important work for all of us to be able to tackle these very difficult issues in a very strategic way and make sure that we get the intended result that we're looking for. Here at the Sheriff's Office, we have implemented a number of protocols and things of that nature to make sure that we present that transparency and accountability that the citizens are looking at and looking for. So I look, the things that we're doing in our Sheriff's Office, we have always been trying to push our agency forward in the regards of implicit bias training. We have already been doing that. De-escalation training, we have already been doing that. Many years ago, under my first term, I hired a private consultant to come into the Sheriff's Office to address and tackle some of the very tough issues when it comes to race and equality and how we go about policing responsibly. So that particular training went over very well. We even had community leaders come in. So it predates a lot of what we've been doing here. So, I saw what was going on the horizon. I saw what was going on in the nation. And we have really, in the Sheriff's Office, tried to attempt to tackle those particular initiatives in my community. And if we had staff members that weren't going to go along with the protocol, wasn't going to meet the new mandate of this administration, they would be separated. We have taken a proactive approach that, in reference to our policing and in our correctional facilities, that we have a specific standard. Our citizens have a standard. Our elected officials have a standard. And I have, as a leader of this organization, I've been holding those individuals accountable in reference to how they interact in the community. So again, I really appreciate everyone's due diligence for being here this morning and this opportunity to have this discussion.
Great. Thank you, Sheriff. Senator Jackson.
Thank you, Senator. Sheriff, great to see you. You and I go back a little bit, back to your commander days. So what I'll say for the members that are on the line, I've had the pleasure, since the Freddie Gray incident, to serve as out of House Bill 1016, where we created the Maryland Police Training and Standards Commission. The General Assembly assigned 4 legislators to the Police Training and Standards Commission. I have been the only person, I think, maybe, who has been assigned there the entire time. There are 2 delegates and 2 senators assigned. Stand by, Sheriff. The Senate will be either reshuffling or recommitting the same 2 folks, and the Speaker, I guess, will be doing the same. As we've been going through the police reform, which is something that we've all had to grapple with. One of the things that I've said, and I continue to say, is while my innards are being twisted up and down, through this entire process, having lived through every stage of this, being a member, being a Black male, then being a member, being a union president, and then being the sheriff, and then leading the, being the director of leadership development on the governor out. I think it's vital for us, and this is from not just the legislators on the line, but from you as well, that we understand that this is but the beginning of police reform. Right now, we are addressing, for the most part, what we see. But as you know, and as we all know, leadership starts at the top. So that we have a systemic problem in our criminal justice system, that 5-legged stool: law enforcement, prosecutors, judges, the courts, the penal system, and then the probation system. So we have a lot of work to do. I will be able to digest what we're doing, because it's the right thing to do, much easier, I guess, knowing that we are all committed to dealing with this systemic issue. And we are in the right place at the right time to be able to do that. So we have a lot of work to do going forward. We look forward to working with you in that regard. And, let's stay connected. Let's keep doing, we have much more good work to do, tough work to do. Let's make sure we're committed. to doing that together.
Thank you for your comments, Senator Jackson. I look forward, as always, continue to work with you in reference to the Police Training and Standards Commission. You're absolutely right. We're only at the beginning stages, and there's some significant issues that must be addressed in the criminal justice system. And I look forward to working with all of our members, not only on a local level, but also on the state level.
Yeah, cool. Thank you, Senator.
I'll mute myself. Delegate Patterson, you're up next. You are muted, Delegate Patterson.
Sorry, don't want to waste any seconds. Thank you very much, Allison. Thank you very much, Sheriff Berry, for being here. And of course, for your leadership, not only at the county, but at the state as well. I want to just for a minute talk about or have your thoughts about the House Bill 1072, which is a pretrial release program. I know that this is something that Delegate Davis worked on very hard and that held meetings and had information from stakeholders. And certainly, of course, you were a key player in this as well. Your thoughts about the authorization of pretrial this service coming to Charles County?
Thank you.
Nothing is perfect, but
Yeah.
just your general thoughts in terms of
Yes.
Charles County taking that initiative.
In reference to the pretrial initiative and that particular legislation, I think it's key for the audience. We have in the Charles County community called Criminal Justice Coordinating Council, where has been assembled by a number of law enforcement, a number of leaders in our community and people that play various roles in the criminal justice system. And that particular legislation, I think, plays a significant role. But the tone and the tenor of what's going on in the General Assembly and also across the nation is that I'm hearing that they want the law enforcement to take a back role in a number of these initiatives. And that's why I've been very intentional in reference to our pretrial services here in Charles County to make sure there's other models out of state where the law enforcement entities will arrest a person. The law enforcement entities will do an assessment on the person. And the law enforcement entity will then collect fees from that individual if they decide to place outside of the detention facilities. I think that's a flawed model. And the reason why I say that, you shouldn't have the police arresting people. You shouldn't have the police advocating for people's release and at the same time monetizing off of their release. That's why that's critically important, this legislation that we have in Charles County, buck that old model. It's critically important. I think everyone across the board believes that pretrials is a good thing. And that's why it needs to be a county model, whereas a separate entity we have to arrest, the separate entity does the evaluation. And if the court wants that individual out in the community, then the sheriff's office has nothing to do with collecting of fees or anything. All we do is supervise. So that way we stay in our law enforcement lane. And I believe if we do that model, if we work within that framework, we would have a pillar or a national model to be used all across this nation.
Madam Chair, if I might, just for the body, we heard that bill yesterday, and we heard the CJCC's perspective on that. So APR heard that bill yesterday, just so you all know. And
well, thank you.
There was an amendment offered, so.
All right, well, we'll hope you keep us posted in that on that legislation. Thank you very much, Sheriff Berry, and thank you for your service.
Yeah, thank you, Delegate Patterson, and echoing Senator Jackson's comments. It was really neat. I presented that bill in front of his committee yesterday, and I know 2 representatives from the Sheriff's Office came and testified for it. So that's a model in cooperation already. We want to kind of keep working like that, cooperating to get these innovative situations, reforms done. So thank you, So who did I say is next? Is it Delegate Wilson? Okay.
Thank you, Senator. Thank you, Sheriff Berry. And I know we were short on time, so I would just get right to the point. I appreciate the service you're providing for our community. The issues that I do have that I would like to see some improvement on in my part were our camaraderie between the delegation and the Sheriff's Department, because it's, instead of waiting to testify against or for a bill, input, official or unofficial, would be great. That's either a call, a text message, or an email to all of us. Because, unfortunately, we find out last minute your feelings on certain bills when we could have probably negotiated, worked through that earlier on in the process. Secondly, and more importantly for me, is the communication, because I know that we operate in entirely different silos. I know we're entirely different government entities, and you are a duly elected official. However, the citizens don't see it that way. They see us all as government. So when it comes to emergencies, and other counties do this very well, we get called, I'm sure you get called a lot, but we get called too about deaths, about shootings, about accidents, about robberies. And we find out from the paper, if we're lucky. It would be nice to get a text. And I know you can't put a lot of information out. I'm in the court system, but just letting us know, giving us a heads up so we're not so taken aback when our citizens say, what happened down there on the corner of Billingsley and 301? It would be great to have some kind of, sorry about that, of text channels to go, a text messaging channel to us whenever there are any kind of emergencies or newsworthy events. That way we look like we're at least working together. A regular debriefings at least once a year on what you'd like to see in legislation would be great too, before session starts, as well as any emergency debriefings if you feel there's something, because remember, we're going to be fielding questions as well. And lastly, what I would like personally for all of us is basically an emergency contact person, an official pathway that for people that help us field complaints, concerns from citizens, or criminal issues and violations. Someone who we can follow up with to ensure that these things are followed up with and the citizens' complaints were addressed. And if we all had that one person that, well, if I get a complaint, I can, well, let me refer you to so-and-so, but then follow back up with that individual. Because to me, that's what's sorely lacking in our county, is that awareness of what each other's doing. Again, I know you're busy. I know there's a lot of things you can't release, but we find out most of our stuff through news. And if I have a criminal issue that I want to resolve from a citizen or a complaint, I call. I think if we all had that same person, it would allow us that follow-up. It would show, at least demonstrate that we're all working together. And that's one of the things I feel that, and then most elected officials, we all have run into this, but I would like that, find a way to resolve that. Do you have any issue with those?
No, sir. Just to let you know, I think Delegate Patterson and Delegate Davis can attest to this. After the 2019 legislative session, I sent an email requesting everyone come together to have a conversation of how we could work more collaboratively in reference to various issues, very specifically what you're talking about. These issues are very easy to handle. What I will do following up this this Zoom meeting, I will have you give you the contact for my chief of staff, which is Mr. Brian Ely. He's the second in command of the sheriff's office. And that way you can speak directly to him, or many of you, if you don't, I know we have been in constant communication with text messages before, but if you have anything or any concerns, I'm available, but I will definitely give you another contact, Mr. Brian Ely, my chief of staff here at the sheriff's office.
And just to follow up, because I know you're busy, you're my neighbor. I know it's hard for us to be in contact. And is there any way we could do that when it comes to these larger emergencies and these newsworthy events, receive that information ahead of time so we could basically, as far as via text or something, if the paper is going to get it, is there any way we could get it ahead of time just so we can be made aware so when our citizens ask?
But what I will do is get you connected with our media relations person. When we make a community push or make a agency push, we'll definitely get you in that loop of that initial information. That shouldn't be hard at all.
Is that Diane still?
It's going to be Diane Richardson. Yep.
Sure. Okay. Thank you very much.
Okay. Thank you, Delegate Wilson. Delegate Davis.
All right. Thank you, Sheriff Berry, for coming. I had no idea what we were going to be discussing today, so I've been trying to make notes as we've gone along. I want to echo Delegate Wilson's concerns about when you come to Annapolis. I mean, this is kind of our place. And if you let us know ahead of time, we can probably work out some stuff, or I don't know. It would be nice that I knew you were going to be a witness against maybe one of my bills in my committee before you get here. And along that line, I know that you are you currently the head of the Chiefs and Sheriffs, or about to be head of the Chiefs and Sheriffs?
No, ma'am. I am the president of the Sheriff's Association. I was duly elected last year.
Okay, so for those who are watching, I sit on the Judiciary Committee. So most stuff that comes before me has to do with criminal justice, family law, anything along that line. So I hear most of the criminal justice cases in my committee, and I understand, Sheriff Berry, that it must be difficult to balance your leadership role with the sheriffs, as the chief of the sheriffs. I don't even know what you call it, and your role as Charles County Sheriff and representing Charles County residents. And I know it must be difficult. And I've seen that in action, because I don't know whether people know it, but the Sheriff's Association is pretty darn conservative. And a lot of times you're in front of us representing some really conservative thoughts, or yes. I remember some of the lobbyists in front of us that represent the Chiefs, well, the Sheriff's Association in particular, who don't believe that African Americans are pulled over at a higher rate than other people in the community. In this state or any state, was some of the statements that they made. And so, that was really concerning. And I don't know whether you get to choose who your lobbyists are, but I don't think they're representing you well. I don't know whether you get to choose, but they are dinosaurs. And I don't believe that they have their finger nowhere near the pulse of murderers at all. But I don't know whether you have anything to do with that, or whether you could make any decisions related to that. But I just know in the committee, it puts us at extreme odds. And matter of fact, it has the opposite effect, because people on the committee want to disassociate themselves with them because they're so extreme, so conservative. But I've got notes. And I guess that wasn't a question, that was more of a statement. And you are also going to be, you announced this earlier with the Maryland, whatever that thing is, the Maryland Police Training Commission, Police and Correction Training Commission, PT.
There are two separate commissions. The one that I am chairman of, Delegate Davis, is a Police Training and Standards Commission.
Yeah, MTC. Okay, and you spoke a little bit about upcoming legislation. And so the upcoming legislation is going to give your organization that you're chairing more power. Have you been hearing that?
Well, we don't know what is going to happen as far as what's going to actually make out of these committees and get voted on. But if you're asking me on my opinion, to meet the objectives of the General Assembly, I think that if you want the Police Training and Standards Commission or the Correctional Officers Commission, we first have to give them more statutory and regulatory authority. Right now, the commission is merely a best practices.
Yeah, we learned that we learned that over the summer with the Speaker's Task Force. Yes, So more power, more regulatory authority, more decision-making is going to be entrusted into that organization and under your helm. And I'm just concerned with all of that being in your helm and then it coming out really conservative. I'm just really, really concerned about that. And
Well, Delegate Davis, to speak to, you keep using the word conservative, but Senator Jackson can speak to my role and my conduct on that board ever since its inception. We work collaboratively with the General Assembly members. We work with the citizens on the road. We even call in subject matter experts, making sure that we doing our due diligence, making sure that we meet the expectations of the citizens of the great state of Maryland, but equally trying to meet the expectation of the General Assembly. So I having almost 30 years in law enforcement, I think I will be a significant asset on there. So I would defer to Senator Jackson and reference how we've been able to collaborate over the years on various initiatives to enhance and be more transparent in law enforcement here in the state of Maryland.
that sounds really good, Sheriff. I appreciate that. We talked about,
Delegate Davis, could I jump in really quick? So some members have to jump off for another meeting, but we
one
can
last
continue.
question.
I'm not going to rush anyone. I don't know if Sheriff Barry, you have a few more minutes. We did say.
Can I just ask one last question?
Yeah, sure. I'm not going to rush anyone.
And I'll be done.
Yeah, and then of course we're going to need to give Delegate Susie Proctor time to.
Okay.
So,
So we talked a lot about moving Maryland forward and all of the police reform that's coming down. So the police reform that Charles County has initiated is going to take some additional dollars. And in support of that, are you willing to help reallocate some of those funds, your funds, to support the criminal justice reform that you support?
Delegate Davis, you know how the budgetary process works as former county commissioners. It is working in collaboration with our board of county commissioners, listening to our delegations, and we always reset the budgetary priorities in reference to these initiatives. One of my highest priorities in reference to bring about transparency to Charles County is body-worn cameras. Body-worn cameras is going to cost this community, and I just want to let the citizens know, it's going to cost almost $2 million. So that is a very high priority, and I think that that's where we should be looking. We talked about pre-trial, so it is an ongoing, fast-moving conversation that we have. But the sheriff's office has always been fiscally responsible with the dollars that we spend, and what we can do, and anything that we can do to bring about accountability and reform, the sheriff's office is willing to work with our local officials.
I really appreciate that. Thank you.
thank you, Delegate Davis and Delegate Proctor.
Thank you, Senator Ellis, and thanks for being here, Sheriff Barry. I just have two quick questions. I know that the COVID shutdowns have caused many of the courts not to be able to function and therefore causing backups in some of our jails. And I wondered, number one, if your jails, if you have experienced any backup because of the COVID shutdowns in the courts in Charles County. And my second question, and I'll just ask both of them, I just want to ask you what percentage of your staff has been vaccinated?
In reference to the first question, Delegate Proctor, thank you for those questions. We, in the initial stages of COVID-19, worked very diligently with the state's attorney's office and our circuit and court judges and our district court judges, looking at individuals that were on low bail and low bond, and we reassessed those particular situations because we wanted to do our very best to reduce the inmate populations within Charles County. We do have 2 detention facilities here in Charles County, and our maximum capacity of our detention facilities are almost 600 between the two facilities. But we have been oscillating between under 100 to about 110 since COVID-19. So we're only keeping those individuals inside a facility that are unfortunately pose a danger to the community. So that's the first step that we took to make sure we reduce that particular population. But in reference to the backlog, we were just having a conversation just yesterday with the state's attorney and also the administrative court judge, Judge West, talking about how we're going to be methodically being able to expand and move these particular proceedings forward so individuals do not linger in our facilities, and so the criminal justice process continually move forward. So that is an ongoing conversation. So in reference to COVID-19 vaccinations, just for your information, we have about 670 staff members here at the Charles County Sheriff's Office between civilian personnel, correction, and also sworn personnel. So we're probably, I would guesstimate, we're about 2/3 vaccinated here at the Sheriff that chose to take the vaccine. And I didn't want to make it mandatory. We have about 2/3 of those individuals that have been vaccinated. And what we did, we had some individuals initially were reluctant. So we did 4 rounds of vaccinations. So I was in the first round and we were able to methodically get everyone through it. So we're about 2/3 vaccinated Sheriff's Office personnel.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you, Sheriff Berry, for this truncated conversation in the middle of session. It's so hard to find any time, but I'm just so thankful for you for joining us and for members, to all the members of Charles County representatives here in Annapolis to be on this Zoom meeting. Our dedication to safety of our community and to work cooperatively is 100%. So thank you, Sheriff. Thank you, members. And there's a meeting that we have to go to right now. So let's we'll work to keep this communication open, these lines open in the future. Thank you, and everyone, and have a great day.
Have a great day. Be
Thank you.
safe. Bye-bye.